Hello everyone. It is Tuesday evening and I thought I would take a couple minutes to talk about children and their bedtimes. Do you know people who their kids pretty much stay up as late as they want to when they're very young, and then it's time to start school at the age of 5 or 6, and all of a sudden they're trying to give them an established bedtime, and it doesn't work. I mean, the children are used to being up till 9:30, 10, 10:30 even, and all of a sudden they're thinking, well, why do I have to go to bed early? And it's usually a major struggle. So I figured out, actually I didn't figure this out. I give my mother credit for this. Before my first was born, she was telling me how it's very important to have your kids have a set bedtime every evening. And I'm talking from the time they're just weeks old. Now that sounded crazy to me at the time, but I thought I'd listen to her advice. She's a pretty smart lady, and give this a try. And sure enough, our kids had a bedtime from the age of like probably 6 weeks old. We literally never associated their last nursing or their last bottle with bedtime. It was a separate thing. And we put them in their crib at about 7 o'clock, and they just laid there awake, but it was bedtime. And sure, they were up every 3 hours for a feeding, but we just established that, and it actually worked. It actually worked. For more information, you can check out the link in the first comment on this video, on this post. But it was the best decision we ever made. We actually had time as a couple all the time. Instead of your kids being up with you till 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then I always hear people say, oh my gosh, our life changed when we had kids. It doesn't have to be that way. Kids really want that bedtime, and people think they can't start it as early as 6 weeks or 2 months old, but you absolutely can. Which means that when our kids were ready to start school, they already had a bedtime. They've always had a bedtime. I don't care whether they were 8 weeks or 2 years or 4 years, they had a bedtime every evening. And we stuck to that. I mean, 95% of the time we stuck to that. It was to the point that even if we were visiting friends on a Friday night because they were having a party, when it was my kids' bedtime, I don't care if they were a year and a half, 2 years old, they went to bed and on top of one of their beds in a bedroom, and they knew that it was time to go to sleep. And they were used to that. They didn't even argue. So anyway, there's a little more information in my blog post. So if you'd like to read up on that, just check out the link in my first comment. And I'm here if anybody ever has any questions. It worked for me. It worked for my mother, obviously, because she's the one that recommended it. And I recommended it to my daughter when she had her first child. And it worked like a dream for her too. She's so happy that they were able to do that with him for the time he was very, very, very young. So anyway, have a nice Tuesday evening, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.